Hi everybody, and welcome back to Zombie King 11's dramatic readings of Sara Metz, the only survivor of one known as the Gay. Where we last left off, George was putting the moves on an innocent woman in Richmond, Virginia, taking advantage of her, telling lies about her, and claiming she was his girlfriend, even though no woman in their right minds had ever touched George with a 50-foot pole, except for his dead mother, of course. Let's continue, shall we? With George, and that his biggest threat as a man was that George would take his wife away. I wanted to laugh. Then I blurted out that he was only a friend. Period. George looked upset by this one, and then ran his mouth to the guy's wife. Period. And this idiot, abusive male friend called me an easy slut. Period. Where he got that from was not sure. But the man assumed, I guess, because I looked decent and was dressed well, that for some reason I must either be the type from Vegas that George dated or had some ulterior motive in mind for being there. Period. At which point, I turned to George and said, I am not putting up with this insulting asshole. I don't have to listen to this. I am leaving. Jumped up, ran out the door to the room and rest, and got in my car, left and drove home. Was glad I was 45 minutes away. Then G calls me on the phone to apologize for his friend, and I told he was hurting himself by hanging with abusive shits who treated their wives like crap, women in general like crap, and with friends like that, who needs enemies? Period. He continued to call me, but this time it was on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Period, and that pissed me off. Finally, I had to say that I had told him that I was no longer hanging with him, and he kept asking why. And I said, because you have shits for friends, and you are way too fat for me to date. If you must know, period, that was the last conversation I had with him. But since then, in early 2008 and 2010 this year, I have gotten angry hate mail from George because he would come across a personal ad of mine with my picture and go freaking nuts, totally nuts, with very hysterical reactions, calling me old, ugly, a loser, yada, period. I think he could be very scary if let loose. He obviously was spoiled by his mom. He is an only child. His mom's in Florida. She left him her house, then moved after his dad died for a while back. Period. He is Greek, loves to eat out, and thus gets bigger and bigger. Sally didn't keep up with going to college. He knows very little about the net, and only recently got online. Period. He is a man who has puffed up his own self-importance in his delusional mind. Period. Sadly, period. I have told Kevin that I won't hang with him if G is close by. Period. I hang with Kevin and his friends, and mutually my friends about 2 Sunday brunches out of the month. Period. G is never there, or I would be gone. Period. I think Kevin uses G as exposure for his own goals in whatever local media events he wants to be included. So with what I've read so far, it seems that Gorgeous George is a stalker. He's creepy as fuck. He doesn't know how to take no for an answer, and he's very full of himself. We all knew that already, but this just proves that George's inability to take no for an answer is highly scary indeed. Again, he has come late onto the computer scene / net scene, given the home computer came out in 1983 and the home access to the net came out in 94. Keep those years in mind. Kevin is not married at all, but has had some serious relationships. One lasted about 4 years with a fiancée who loved acting locally, but who abruptly broke it off with Kevin about 3 years back. Period. Only morons introduced their women to George. Period. If she did get introduced to George, then I am sure that jealous George made some crack to her to piss her off and insult her. Period. Kay come out and told me that he never ever let George get close to his women at all. Never took them around him, as he can't handle other people or his friends having LTR or marriage partners. It would be pretty easy to find out about his criminal background if you paid some dollar sign for the search engines online. The above is about all I know about G, but my conclusion is that he is a loose cannon and he can be very dangerous if left unchecked. Wow. This woman's ordeal, this struggle against George. I became alarmed at how vindictive this guy can be, somewhat whom he was not in LPR with at all, as if he were or something, but in his head, God only knows what he thinks. But whatever, he goes off on me by an email having not communicated with the guy at all by any media for 7 years. Over me, no one to date him, and I never did. As if I had broken his heart, period. As if I had no right to live, to breathe, to date, to love, to be near a man unless it was him. He went on and on about how needy I was and how desperate I was, as if he had never read or seen a personal lab before, as if he had uncovered some gem of dirt. It was at once alarming and amusing due to the fact that blogs and ads and sites have been around since 1993. Period. Jeez. Period. The other strange thing was that he wrote as if I was supposed to live as a hermit, or did, and I didn't. I go out, I date, I am happy, I live, I do a ton of things, I always have. I have a family, a large, very happy family. He knows so little about me, period. I got married and divorced in between the time I last saw his stupid ass, and he knows nothing about me, period. But his twisted head thinks he does, period. Well, with that read, Sara Metz looks like she survived an awesome disaster that was probably waiting for her. She started to take George seriously and want to be in a relationship with him. As.Gorgeous is an easy mark for anybody who actually knows what desperation looks on a man's face, i.e. Chris Chan and Julie. One could see that Gorgeous George is not only dangerous to himself, but dangerous to others, especially women. I think with what Sara Metz wrote about her experiences with George and how he goes off on her a few years later, shows that George is not only psychotic, but is extremely dangerous to women. Now, we all know George is a sex offender. Well, Paulette Park, for instance, that's a good example, has a sex offender living with him / pedophile. Who's to say that George won't one day fly off the handle, kidnap some woman who says no to him at Penny Lane Pub, and then get his ass thrown through the Denny's window again? Who knows, right? But I will say this, though. Somebody like George is a loose cannon, is a danger to women, is a danger to himself and the community, and is a danger to everything decent. The guy is a fucking sex-crazed maniac. He makes Match called Matt look calm. To be quite frank with you, Gorgeous George is a sick, psychotic fuck pig. Greasy at that, way too fat, and this just solidifies what we already know about Gorgeous George. With that said, I'm Zombie King 11. I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm going to go out and get some vegetables and make a salad. Something that George has nothing to do with or even knows what the fuck a salad is. But I am Zombie King 11. Sign off. Good night. God bless America. And George, fuck you. Fuck you. Sorry about that. Lolman Begins. Peace.